NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst you legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight. Hey gang, so I got a new book out. It's called The Upside of Fear, and it's exactly what you think it's about. It's about the good side of, well, getting scared. In it, we talk not only about the science and biology behind fear, but the psychology as well. And it's not just coming from me, it's coming from some of the best in the sport. Omar Alhigelan, Jeff Provenzano, Maxine Tate, and so many more have contributed their sometimes terrifying stories to the book to help you overcome your fear. So head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com. You're going to find the link to the book there, as well as the other books. It's available in ebook, paperback, hardback, and audiobook right now.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go! Back in the can for another edition of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, and a friendly, familiar face that I haven't talked to, as usual, in quite a while. Who the fuck are you, and what do you do?
Hey, my name is Laurie Lubbe. I am a French indoor skydiver and actually skydiver now as well. I've been skydiving for 11 years, but I was doing lots of tunnels, so I've been really involved in tunnel flying for a few years. I've been coaching, competing, been instructor, trainer, and now I'm getting back into skydiving.
What sparked the issue, the desire to get back in the sky?
Well, actually, I've started skydiving. I was 17 years old, so I didn't have much time because I was still studying. Obviously, not much money as well. So yeah, I had I was doing maybe 50 jumps a year. And then I wanted to be a tunnel instructor. I've seen people flying, and I was like, man, I want to do that when I grow up. So I actually stopped my studies and was like, okay, I need to find a way to become a tunnel instructor. And Dubai was the way, actually. So that's when I moved to Dubai when I was 20 years old.
Jesus Christ. You know, it's bizarre for me now to hear people saying I knew I wanted to grow up and be a tunnel instructor, because you guys are so fucking young now. I mean, the tunnel's just always been there, and you guys are like, I want to grow up and be that. What? Come on.
Yeah, it was like a dream, you know. It's like, well, when you don't really have the money to do it, it's like it has to be your job, you know what I mean? So it's like it's either you grow up like, I don't know, for me, I was a gymnast or I was fencing, you know, as a sport, like apart from school and stuff like that, you know. It wasn't like skydiving was not the sport I was doing, and you know, I had to be like, okay, if I cannot have it as a hobby, I has to make it my job.
Sure.
So that's how it happened a little bit in my head at that time. I was like, okay, if I want to fly every day, it has to be my job, and then I'm not gonna have to be working every day then.
So now, what was your first experience in the sky? Was it skydiving or tunnel first?
It was actually a little bit both, but the first thing I've tried was skydiving. So like basically it was the French Federation of Skydiving, which is like super like involved in like developing the sport. And they made like an event. They selected like 6 person in France. And it was like for €100. We had like the three first jumps of AFF and 10 minutes of tunnel time. And I was like 17. I was like, wow, that's awesome. So I've tried, and I was actually selected to do that. So then I just finished my AFF afterwards. And then maybe did like, I don't know, like 15 minutes of tunnel time, like in this year. And then I was just like jumping. But as I said, it was like I was 17. So there was a hotel just nearby the drop zone. I was like cleaning the hotel rooms, like, and all the money was used like to pay for my jumps.
Now, was there a plan for the future before you got involved in skydiving, or?
Ah man, yeah. I mean, I was like kind of okay at school, and then I think my parents had like lots of expectation on me. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna become a doctor. So actually, I was in med school for like 6 months, and then I was like, yeah, I want to fly.
I mean, I can imagine there was a little disappointment with your
Oh
parents.
man, yeah. I feel bad for them now. But actually now they're really happy with what I'm doing with my life, because it was also like a little bit tricky, you know. I think we've talked about it on the first episode of this podcast, but when I wanted to become an instructor, it was like not really popular for women back in 2015, which is like not super long time ago, but still.
Sure.
And it was really hard like for women to get job in the tunnel. So this is how actually I ended up in Dubai, meeting Anas Bekali at
Mm.
the World Championships in Prague. Just super random. We talked together, and it was like, well, you know, they're actually looking for women in Dubai because many women don't want to fly with men. So this is how actually I got the job, and I was like, okay, that's perfect. That was the plan, you know.
Isn't it funny that in order to get a job that you were having a difficult time as a woman getting anywhere else, you had to go to a country that historically is not great or was not great with women, and you end up going there to get opportunities you couldn't get back home.
I mean, there is an irony in that. Like every time I said this story, they're like, "What? Really? Like this is exactly what we cannot imagine, but actually makes sense." You know, they were like, "Well, they needed some women," and that's how actually it started to also like become like more popular in Europe, and now you see like so many skydiving instructor, like female instructor, like both in the tunnel and the sky, and I'm so happy with that as well. You know, like when we're talking together, like much more women doing skydiving and stuff, and I'm also super happy about that.
Sure. I was lucky that I came from places that always had a pretty decent concentration of female instructors. They tended to be more AFF than tandem, just because the tandems can be just a bunch of grunt work. But there were always a lot of female instructors. So I never really noticed the difference until, of course, I start traveling and people pointing out, yeah, no, 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 there's still a pretty big gap there. You're right. I mean, I still see it fill out dramatically and have seen it fill out dramatically over the last 20 something years.
Yeah, that's awesome, because it's also like become also not just instructor, but also like female doing coaching, you know, like in the sky, like I don't know, like angle jumps and stuff like that. There is like like much more women than it used to be, and I'm super happy like to see like the sports growing that way as well. You know what I mean? Like
Sure. So,
and I'm now being a little bit more part of that, because in the tunnel you cannot really see it, because there's also like many women flying, not that there was not so many instructor, but like flying there were like many women. So it's a little bit more like you can see it a little bit more in skydiving, you know, like where you're in a plane, like it's not often that you have like half women and half men in the plane, you know what I mean? So
Sure, sure. No, absolutely. Now, when you went to Dubai, obviously the work was geared towards the fact that you were a woman because they had female students that didn't want to fly with men, which was a cultural thing there. But outside of working in the tunnel, moving to that region as a woman, how was that?
that was awesome. Like honestly, I really had like nothing to complain about. I mean, like the culture is different, but also like in my head is like when you move to a country which isn't yours, you have to adapt to the country. It shouldn't be
Mm,
the other way around. So so even if the culture was like different, I really didn't mind. I've never was annoyed by the men or saying like I don't know, because obviously I don't cover my hair or stuff like that. They don't care.
sure.
Also, I'm being respectful, so it's like if I'm going to places which aren't like super touristic or stuff like that, obviously I'm not gonna dress, you know, like in a way that they wouldn't understand, you know what I mean? So
Sure, sure.
it's
Although,
just like trying to respect the others, you know.
and what year did you go to Dubai?
When
Yeah, what year?
uh it was 2016.
Okay, so I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure you must have thought the same thing because I got over there with a lot of preconceived notions about what that culture was going to be like, and it took one walk down JBR to realize I was
Yeah.
wrong about everything. Because
Yeah.
I've never seen a larger connection or a collection of bikinis and side boob and high-heeled shoes and mini skirts all over that town. And I mean, it was like Vegas without the gambling.
Yeah.
It really was. So
Yeah,
there
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
there wasn't a huge adjustment. There was an adjustment, and maybe you saw this on the work side of things because the culture is a bit different. But other than that, I think the transition for me coming from a Western country was quite easy.
Yeah, for me as well, and especially actually what I really loved in Dubai was like also the skydiving community, which was like from everywhere, like every yeah, all around the people from all around the world. And sometimes would just go to the restaurant, 15 person, and not a single one from the same country. And it's like, wow, how often can I say it happened? You know what I mean? So I feel it was like it was really like yeah. It was learning new cultures, like learning new backgrounds and stuff. And this is also the good thing with skydiving because we also all had like a special background. Like sometimes there are people like that used to work in I don't know like every field of jobs, and it's sometimes like okay, where do you come from? And they're like, wow, this is the I feel this is for me now the only place like I could meet so many people from different backgrounds. Like skydiving for that
Sure.
is so amazing.
Well, and you have such a common tie with skydiving, and although obviously there's different personalities in the sport, we all seem to gravitate towards the same kind of things. I mean, cutting back to being out in public with 15 jumpers, I've never been more drunk in my fucking life than I have in public in a bar with a bunch of skydivers in Dubai, right? I
This is
mean,
actually true. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and but it was
yeah.
great because we'd all just kind of go get completely out of hand, but it was we all took taxis to and from, like all the sketchy shit that happens everywhere else didn't happen there.
It's
And
true actually.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I would I was much safer going and getting shitty out on the town with friends there than I was anywhere else ever.
You know, it's what I said actually. I was talking about that like maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I've never had like a beer and drank a car in Dubai. It never happened.
Nah.
Never. So it's like every time I knew I was drinking, I would take a taxi or something. It never happened that I actually would drink something and then take my car. So yeah, I want to say it's also the same back in France, but you know,
Sure. Well, I mean, yeah, that's
yeah.
everywhere else, everywhere else.
Okay,
So
be safe, guys. Huh? Okay.
right. Now, when you got there, obviously you had experience, but I'm assuming obviously nowhere near what you've got now. So, what was your experience level when you started in Dubai, and what was that transition like? Because Dubai was a hell of a learning curve. Like people learned shit fast there.
Yeah, you know, actually, this is like super weird. I think I had like 2 or 3 hours of tunnel time when I moved to Dubai. You know, I don't know how I managed to get this contract. Like, I took 6 months though, huh, like for me to get this contract. But I was like, okay, please, you have to take me. And it was like I was sending emails like over and over. And at some point, they were like, okay, we're gonna take her. But yeah, I had like maybe 300 jumps and 2 3 hours of tunnel time. But then, like the good thing, I was flying in iFly, so in the mall, so not in the big tunnel in Dubai. So it was actually the 12 feet tunnel.
Mm.
But yeah, there were like so many instructors that were okay, like to coach me, and like same, like the progression was like super fast, and the drop zone was also like closed. Because I couldn't jump the palm back in the days, so I had to jump in the desert, and I was flying like maybe head up when I started, and did the whole summer learning head down in the tunnel. When the drop zone opened again, I would just do a jump and then try to fly in my head. It was working. I was like, man, the tunnel is a really good thing. It helps so much for skydiving. It is really different sport, and now that I'm having like also my coach rating in the sky, this is something I really like want to emphasize and want to like make people understand that tunnel helps a lot for skydiving, but this is not the same sport as well. So you have to understand that there is some stuff that you cannot learn in the tunnel. So obviously it helped, and I realized it when I was doing some jumps, in skill camps and stuff like that. And I was like, maybe I was having 500 jumps, and all the others at least had thousands of jumps, and I was like, okay. And I was in the jump just because of the tunnel, and obviously the exit was a mess. So I was like, like fighting for my life in the exit. And then obviously when the wind was okay, I was able like to join by the formation.
Sure.
So yeah, it
Well,
definitely helped so much.
I mean, that's kind of been the tunnel in a nutshell the whole time, though, right? I mean, I was around when tunnels first started to get really popular, and you could spot a tunnel flyer from a mile away because they were flying their asses off in the sky, but they were complete shit under canopy, just fucking train wrecks
Exactly.
on massive canopies. And I think that the thing that now I think has changed quite a bit, but back in the beginning was the case, was you didn't there were two different sets of risks involved in being a tunnel flyer or being a skydiver, and it was very difficult to teach someone flying in a tunnel what it's like to step off of an airplane and what that view alone will do. And the whole remembering to open your parachute is pretty fucking important, and
Yeah.
so the tunnel rat thing, it wasn't translating quite as well as it does now. Whereas I think now, especially folks like you, that do both, probably go out of your way to point out the differences in what you'll need to learn transitioning from tunnel to sky.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like it's super interesting because like I'm getting like I got my coach rating only last year, so it's like I'm still like a baby bird in that field. But it's like I was so happy to have my tunnel, like my students from the tunnel, being able to bring them in the sky and like to be able like to point out the differences in between the two. Like it's there is some stuff that you kind of definitely cannot learn in the tunnel, even like the well, I mean, when you build up some speed and stuff like that, and you to stop, you need to understand there's not going to be a glass which is going to stop you, and just maybe someone, and that's when shit happens.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm super happy to be able like to have both of it and both experiences, and I was also like around coaches that also like taught me a lot, and I was really trying to emphasize on break off and stuff like that because they were like, yeah, you're gonna be fine. And I was like, no, explain it to me, like even if it's the third time, explain the break off to me, explain, because I don't want to be like a danger for people, you know what I mean? So
Sure, sure, absolutely. Well, and that kind of must have come also from the fact that you were learning how to fly yourself in the tunnel while you were busy teaching other people how to fly. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, the act of teaching someone teaches me a ton. I learn so much more about what it is I do when I have to learn how to break it down into digestible information for a newbie. I mean, when you have to try and describe that arch body position and what a turn feels and looks like, you start to think about it and you learn more yourself. So that must have been really cool for you to be learning while teaching.
yeah, and I mean, for me, it's like I've really realized that. So basically, I was flying in Milan, in Italy, for 4 years almost. I stopped working there just after the World Cup in 2022, and then I was just doing only coaching. So I started like my job as a freelance and just doing some camps all around Europe. And then I got back in the tunnel, and I was like, whoa. I fly better than I used to fly before, and I'm flying so much less than what I used to before because I was always training for competition and stuff. And then I realized, well, when I'm coaching, I'm trying to always have like the proper body position with the speed like set for my student and obviously not for me. So sometimes I'm having like too much speed or not enough. And then it actually helped me so much like to have like a range of flying, which is like not especially made for me, which is like custom made for my students, you know.
Sure.
And I've become like so much better with that. And then I was starting flying, and I was like, fuck, I wasn't able to do that like 2 years ago. And I'm like, wow. And I wasn't training on this special exercise, you know what I mean? And it's like, wow, that was awesome. And now I'm really trying to focus as well with that, with trying to fly with the proper body position, even if it's hard, even if the speed isn't made for me, because I'm feeling like, okay, now for sure I'm going to learn so much, even if I'm teaching at that moment.
Sure.
And yeah, like when I was training like a lot in the tunnel, it was also like very specific training because I was doing freestyle. So it was only like flying alone, which now is like I'm trying not to do anymore. Like I'm doing still a little bit of freestyle flying, but it's more like to fly in the sky now.
So now, when did the shift come from just instructing in the beginning to aiming towards competition?
Well, actually, that was the goal from the first day. I was like, okay, I want to be a tunnel flyer and I want to compete in freestyle. That was absolutely the goal. I was like, I need to do that. And that was more also always like almost the other way around. I was like, I want to compete in the tunnel, so I'm gonna become an instructor. So this was more like how the mindset was has been made. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna compete. And then I also like really fell in love with the coaching, and I'm kind of like happy I can only do that because first timers were amazing, but it's really different. It's like maybe doing tandems in AFF or coaching, you know. It's like kind of you don't share exactly the same thing. And yeah, now I'm like super happy. And then when I'm teaching now, I'm able like to go back in the tunnel, and exactly what you say is like, okay, now I have to understand what's happening with the wind so I can explain it to people. And if I'm not able like to explain something, well, I'm gonna go back in the tunnel to understand everything that happens. And when I'm having like some super like good students where like they understand like straight away what I'm doing, it's kind of easy. Like I also like the ones where you explain to them, and then they're like, yeah, I don't understand, or after the fifth time it still doesn't work, so then you have like to change the way of teaching. I mean, for like to me it's never going to be the student's fault if they don't understand. It's always going to be the coach, and if one way doesn't work for them to understand, you have to find the other. And like with the experience, then you have like you build some experience, so you have more ways of teaching. And then when you like try all of them, it still doesn't work, this is also when it gets interesting, you know. This is when you're like, okay, now I have to go back in the tunnel, I have to understand exactly what's happening, so I'm going to be able to like explain it to you.
Now, do you find that the lower end students or the higher end coaching you're doing are more difficult? Is it the more experienced people that are harder or the less experienced?
It really depends. Like, I mean, yeah, it's a tricky question because you're gonna have like some people when you start teaching like super like hard and tricky stuff, obviously like it's gonna be hard because like the move is hard. But for me, it's like it's also like the type of person who is learning. Obviously, teaching a 13 years old isn't the same as teaching a 55 years old, you know what I mean? Like you don't have the same, or even like depending on the background, if someone who has always been doing sport in his life or someone who hasn't. So it's really different. Or someone who is scared, you know. I also have people who are like, yeah, I don't feel super safe, so I need you to always hold me or stuff like that. And you know, it's like sometimes people don't have the same rhythm or learning, and you have to adapt. And this is like where it gets super interesting for me. Yeah.
For sure. Well, I mean, even for me as a not so great tunnel flyer, I mean, I started way back in the day, and then spent a decent chunk of time flying in the tunnel in Dubai and getting on my head in those tunnels. But there's almost a point where telling me physically what I need to be doing no longer does the trick. I have to be able to feel it. Um,
Yeah.
and now, especially with as intricate as some of the stuff you guys are doing gets, some of the moves are almost impossible to break down what I'm seeing you guys doing. Like there's such a small amount of movement physically going on for such a dramatic effect in the wind. And to know that you guys are just tweaking a foot and digging in a heel and putting a bit of elbow in the air and having this dramatic effect. But I mean, how do you teach that shit? That literally has to be, all right, this is what you're aiming for. And so how much of it are you allowed to let your students just fuck up?
I mean, I think it has to be part of the process, of course. It has to be like I'm trying to be really careful on young flyers, because until the day they are not scared, it's still fine because you're just gonna be able all the time to be like, okay, do that, and you're gonna be like, yeah, of course, until the day they hit the glass. So I'm trying to be like super, super, super careful with young flyers, but then at some point it's like I think we've all hit the wall at least once, and for me it's like maybe thousands of times,
Oh
of
yeah.
course, but also I've learned a lot by myself, and I've learned by hitting the walls, the net and stuff. And also I was like, yeah, I cannot teach this way, because there
Right.
is like many moves. I was like for example, the side flying, I wouldn't know how to I don't know, I wouldn't know how to learn it. So I was like, okay, maybe low speed. And I was just like, bouncing on the net or just like going to the walls and stuff. And I was like, okay, now I do it and I know how to do it. Obviously, I would never teach it this way.
Sure.
So then also I had like to go back in the tunnel to be like, okay, how could I make it happen, So it's like I'm trying not to have obviously my students like hitting walls and stuff, but also at some point it's like if you have to like let them go. I
Sure.
mean, it's like a baby, you're gonna teach him how to walk, and then at some point you're just gonna be like, yeah, okay, you can do it, and it's just gonna like smash his head, and you're like, yeah,
Sure.
okay, well,
Well, I watch modern tunnel flying and I think back to, my time learning how to fly in the old Vegas tunnel with the big puffy suits. And back then you learned how to fly by trying shit and it
yeah,
worked or it didn't work. And there was an instructor that maybe would try and spot you to the pads, maybe, but otherwise it was just fucking Mad Max, Thunderdome shit. You just tried to see if you could get it done. And now I think it's much safer now, but I think there's also so many restrictions on you guys as coaches that you can only allow your students to try so much because it's wall to wall air and it's fucking dangerous. And it's also now, millions of dollars overall. How many tunnels now? So there's a lot more risk, I think, involved in not letting your students slam into the wall too hard.
yeah, of course. And then it always like depends on like who you're flying with and stuff like that. It's like you have people you like, yeah, obviously you don't want them to get hurt, like none of them. But then you also have people that it's like, okay, now we fly. And you know that if something happened, well, it's just gonna be like a bruise on the leg, and well, it's
Sure.
also not that bad. I've had like, as I say, like hundreds of bruises all over my body just for flying. And actually, like when I was learning side fly, because I was bouncing so much on the net, I had like these big bruises all over my leg. And I went to the beach in Dubai, and then someone just went to me and was like, "Oh, does your husband beat you up?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, that's my job. Don't worry, I'm fine." So it's like it has to be part of the process. So I've kind of accepted it.
For sure. Well, I had a great chance to talk to our mutual friend Naomi, who was out at Aeronautica here in Helsinki, where you have been as well. And I went to visit her out there, and she was kind of giggling because she's like, "This place is the Wild West. Like, there's a guy sitting in the control room. There's nobody here telling you what not to do. You get
Yeah.
in the air and just do your shit, and if you fuck up, it's on you," which she loved. And I'd imagine some instructors would love that for obviously more experienced students, but you couldn't take a novice in that tunnel.
I mean, it depends if you're an instructor. Like for me, it's like, well, I would feel I would be okay with that because this is my job and I've spent I don't know how many thousands of hours in the tunnel. So I was like, yeah, okay. Same when I went to the aeronautica, I was like, okay, there's not going to be instructor at the door, but also I'm an instructor, so it's kind of the same that when I used
Sure.
to work in Milan and I was on my shift, I was alone unless I needed someone. And this is actually the same in Helsinki. Like I'm doing loads of stuff like on my own, but also when I need them, they're super happy to come in. Like so, like for me, like for head down coaching, for example, like I like having someone holding at least for the first few times. I like having someone holding the students, and at least I can be in front of them, so I have like better communication with them.
Sure.
So yeah, it's good to have like yeah, like some weird stuff like that. I like it because in France, it obviously doesn't work like that. Like you always have someone at the door with you, even though you're an instructor, even though you have all your paperwork done, you always have someone at the door, and he's the person responsible, actually.
Sure. I mean, as a student, I found there were only a few instructors that I could work with in Dubai that would give me the airspeed that I needed. Because especially learning how to fly in your head, they've got you on the net and then you're trying to launch off of the net. And I'm 88 kg and I'm 5'9", I mean, I don't fly particularly well in that tunnel, so I need a bit of airspeed. But I found that a lot of the instructors that had come up later in the years were really nervous to give me enough airspeed to fly. And the correction I kept getting was stop putting your arms all the way up and trying to push for the air. And I'm like, there's not enough fucking air. I can't get off the net. And then I had Naomi and one or two other instructors that were like, you want more air? Here you go. And that's actually how I learned, was having someone giving me those signals, but just enough rope to hang myself. I mean, I needed
Yeah.
that airspeed. And then I started to feel it and I went, okay, I understand this. I can feel it.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what we were talking about earlier. It's like it's always tricky, like to find like the moment where you can also like go someone or like putting more wind speed, because obviously it's like, okay, you need some more wind speed, but also if you fuck it up, you're gonna go so high and so bad onto the wall that
Yep,
it's
yep,
kind
yep.
of tricky, like when you have to find like the balance in between like the two of that. And it's like doing the back layouts, you can do like, I don't know, spot, I don't know, hundreds of back layouts. They're all perfect, and the day you're gonna like stop spotting them, they're gonna do like one, two, three, four perfect ones, and then the sixth one is gonna be like boom all the way on the glass, and then you're gonna be like, well.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean,
it's tricky. Like sometimes you never want to let people go because you don't want them to get hurt, and also it's like, yeah, I cannot be always with you, like holding you
sure.
for your layouts and stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, there has to be a level of trust from the instructor as well as from the student, right? Because I mean,
yeah,
you've got to trust that I, as the student, know what to do if I cork.
yeah,
Is he going to ball up,
definitely.
or are we going to have to peel him off the fucking top net? So and that's got to be that fine balance. Now, back to your flying specifically. So you were in Dubai for how long?
2.5 years.
So when you left Dubai, and correct me if I'm wrong, you went straight into full-blown competition, weren't you? You were just training like crazy.
Yeah, this is when I moved to Milan. So I had like a super good sponsorship with them. Like they helped me so much with my training and stuff. So I worked as an instructor for 3.5 years, maybe a little bit more in Milan. Became chief instructor at the end. So it was like also like super interesting with the job itself. And then, so I was like, yeah, I've started competing in France in 2019 with my first French nationals in the tunnel. And then, yeah, I was just like, yeah, training a lot. And then what happened is like, there was the electricity crisis in Italy, which was actually fucking bad. And on the 1st of January 2022, they were like, okay, nobody can fly anymore. Like the price was like went up like per 10 at least. And they were like, okay, maybe we just want to keep some first flyers on the weekend, but like we couldn't coach anymore, we couldn't fly anymore. And I went to Germany training to a tunnel that I like going sometimes. And then they were like, okay, maybe you can work there. And so I went back in Milan and said, okay, I really need to train. The World Cup is in 3 months. And I understand that obviously what's happening is definitely not your fault. And I don't want to move to another tunnel just because of that, because I understand this is not up to you what's happening right now. And they were like so great. Actually, they let me train. So I had to train in between midnight and 6 o'clock in the morning. I had to do, I couldn't like turn on the tunnel for less than 30 minutes, and I couldn't like bring it down. So like basically I was doing like 35 1 hour straight in the tunnel training without
Wow.
going out. And
Wow.
around like in between midnight and and 6 a.m. So that was like not ideal, but still I'm so grateful they actually did let me do that. So that was amazing. Honestly, like from them, I'm so thankful they actually let me do that, because I was able like to like participate on my first World Cup. So that was awesome.
So as somebody that knows very little about the competition side of tunnel flying, talk me through it. Is it like swoopers where you're just doing it because this is a passion of yours and chances are you're going in debt and working your ass off to pay for things? Or are you getting something out of it other than the glory of the podium?
I mean, I really like, for me, like freestyle was amazing, like because it was really like bringing out the creativity, and then for me, it's like it's kind of also like the easiest thing to watch. I feel in tunnel competition, like I love dynamic, I love like every other discipline, but I feel like for me, for someone who has never seen a tunnel in his life, you bring him in front of a tunnel in on a dynamic competition, he's gonna be like, what, you
Sure.
know. Freestyle is kind of like ice skating, you know. It's like you don't need to understand. There is a music, there is someone like dancing in there, and you can only, even if you don't know anything about tunnel, you can only appreciate what's happening. And for me,
Sure.
I was really happy to be able like to fly those kind of lines and just being like, okay, there is a movement that has never been done before, and maybe it can be done. And for me, it was also like all this stuff being like, okay, when I teach people how to do a flip, I'm telling them to be completely straight and completely the head straight, the feet straight, and I'm like, okay, I want to do it holding my feet. So it has to break all the aerodynamic, but everything works. It just you just have to understand how. But every movement can be done, I think, in the tunnel. And so this is what I really liked. Also, like intellectually, to be
Sure.
like, okay, I have to find new stuff. And in every competition, there's always like someone bringing like a new move. And I don't know if because the sport is like so young still, but I'm like, wow, how often can you watch a competition and watch like something that never been done before? So
Well,
that's cool, I think.
you use the parallel of ice skating, and I mean ice skating, figure skating, I should say, has gone relatively unchanged in my lifetime. It's just the skill level of what they're doing has gone up, and the tricks are getting a little bit bigger incrementally, but they're getting cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. And I kind of see tunnel as the same thing, right? I mean, at a certain
Yeah,
point, you've done almost everything you can do. It's a matter of doing it with more flair and more excitement and in a different arrangement and a little bit cleaner. Now,
yeah.
all that being said, with tunnel flying still being quite young, where do you think you see it going? I mean, especially now that the Olympics are just over. Every time there's an Olympics, always it's when are they going to put skydiving in the Olympics? I see tunnel flying being in the Olympics long
They
before
tried.
skydiving.
They tried for Paris. For Paris,
Did they?
actually, they tried. Yeah. They tried, and I was actually involved in the project because they try like to make like some different stuff. So obviously freestyle as it is, but also dynamic. Maybe like changing a little bit the rules and stuff like that. And we had an event in Lyon, and I think it was 2019, and they actually tried to propose it to the Ministry of Sport, and it hasn't been selected. But they
Um,
like the French Federation has really tried to make it happen. And when I was watching the Olympics, I was like, man, that would have been fucking sick if
yes.
tunnel would have been in the Olympics, you know?
Yes, because I mean, I'm not going to talk, actually, I am going to talk shit about a couple of those events. There's some shit in the Olympics that just does not need to be in the Olympics. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. This is the first year fucking breakdancing was an Olympic event. No.
yeah.
Breakdancing put up against tunnel flying? Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Ah,
I mean, sometimes I'm like, well, maybe because I'm skydiver, I think this way, but I was like, oh, that would have been so cool. And imagine just being at the Olympics, you know, like with tunnel flying. But
yes.
also, I feel maybe the sport isn't like accessible enough, or I don't know, like how and why. Maybe there's not enough people doing it, and but that's why we should maybe try to make it happen because, like, I think skydiving wouldn't make the cut because it's not live judging, you know?
Yeah, well, it's not only that it's not live judging. I don't think you're ever going to get the Olympic Committee to sign off on a sport where on live television somebody might go in.
Yeah, true.
Not no matter how small the chance, I don't think they'll ever sign off on a fucking double malfunction fatality on
Yeah, yeah.
international television.
True.
And
Yeah,
I kind of agree with that. I mean, I actually had somebody else bring it up that if you could turn swooping into a competition, but it's ground launching instead of jumping out of an aircraft, then they might bite on something like that, because there's not that somebody got in an airplane and then they disappear and now you see the plane again. It's just too much for the average person to soak in.
Yeah.
But if you can watch them ground launch off the ski slope that in winter is being used for ski jumping, and then they come and set up for a swoop, then I can see something like that. So I think
Yeah.
maybe we'll see versions of our sport. I don't think we'll ever see skydiving.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And also just because like if there is a championships, like it's like so I'm gonna participate in my first skydiving championships at the end of the month, and then people are like, "Oh, do your parents or friends would come to watch it?" It's like, well, there's nothing to watch. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like in a tunnel. In the tunnel you can really see what's happening, and also like this is why it was also like a lot pressure wise, to fly in the tunnel, because if you fuck it up, like everyone sees it.
Right.
Here, it's just like regular jump. Like basically, they just like see you coming back with your canopy, and they don't know if you've done like camera tandem or if you've done like a freestyle jumps.
Yeah.
So it's like for me, there's like I don't think it would. It's like skydiving competition. I think is really good if you leave that if you leave it. So if you're actually in the competition, like leaving what's happening, but for the public to watch it, it'd be like, yeah, what?
Sure. So talk me through what led up to you deciding you wanted to compete in skydiving, and then tell me about the competition coming up.
So same, it was like also like the goal when I started like flying in the tunnel, like freestyling in the tunnel. I was like, well, that would be so cool to do that in the sky. But also you need a teammate, you need some time. And something I realized by starting training with my teammate is basically now we've only started this year. So basically we've only done like 200 jumps. So it's not too much. He's also a tunnel flyer, like dynamic flyer, French champion. And we were like, okay, maybe we make it happen, starting jumping together. The French Federation has been like so helpful because they saw like the potential, because they knew I was flying in the tunnel. He's also flying in the tunnel. They were like, okay, maybe it's gonna be a little bit faster than people who just like start from scratch. But oh my god, this is so different than tunnel flying. As I was saying, like when I was training, I was doing like 45 1 hour straight in the tunnel. If one move wouldn't work, I would just like do it over and over again until it worked. Here it's like, well, it depends on weather. It depends on obviously like I'm not alone anymore, so it also depends on the availability of my teammate, like setting up some dates for training and stuff. And even if you're making like big days, it's gonna be like, I don't know, I think the most we've done was maybe 11 jumps a day. So it's like basically like if you start training on move, you're like, okay, we're gonna try doing this move. Flying it obviously kind of work on the first try, but still you have to fly your canopy, pack your parachute, go again like 20 minutes on the plane to go up to your 4,000 meters, and then do it again. And then after 10 jump, you're just like, yeah, that looks shit, even when it's done well. So okay, we have to let it go. So I feel like the learning process and the progression was like, wow, way different than tunnel. You have to be patient, and you have to be like, okay, well, first being in team, I've never done team sport. I've always done individual sport. I was doing, as I said, I was doing like fencing, I was doing gymnastic, and then like tunnel flying. So for me, it was like, well, if I fuck it up, I fuck it up. Up to me. If I do something good, it's also like I've done it good. But dealing with dealing with fuck ups was like easier to do it with myself. And this is something I kind of also want to see how I'm gonna be with that, because it's like, well, imagine you've been doing like the best jump of your life, and it happened to me once. I was like, man, I was like super good on that job. On that jump, I was like, well, it's almost the best I've done. And my cameraman was like, yeah, that wasn't my best. And then you see the video, it's like, oh my god.
Yep.
And then sometimes it's the exact opposite. Like, sometimes he's like exactly where he should be, and I'm just like fucking up, and I'm like, oh my god. And it's almost like worse actually to fuck it up for someone, like for me,
much
I
worse.
prefer 100% dealing with like maybe anger for a few seconds, being like, oh man, well, okay, you fuck it up, no worries, obviously, but
Yep.
obviously you have some frustration and stuff. Well, having to carry the weight of being the one who did something wrong is like, oh my god, this is gonna be hard for me. I know it's gonna be hard for me.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
way back in another life, I competed as the camera flyer for a sky surf team, and
Mm-hmm.
it was dramatically easier for me to be on the camera side of things and watch her have a problem with a move or not get something quite right than it was for me to know she went out of frame or I wasn't where I was supposed to be. Oh, fuck. And then you're
Yeah.
just on the packing mat beating yourself up going, God damn it. And then yeah, the same thing. You work on this dive flow and exactly what you want to do. And even when you get it perfect and you hit play and you're like, that looks like shit.
Yeah. That's terrible.
We have
Yeah,
to
that's
redo
terrible.
every fucking thing. This is garbage. No one's gonna like this. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite the challenge.
Yeah. So also we had like we found like a way to actually sort that things out. Like sometimes also like we had the jump where we didn't understand each other well on the briefing, and then we just got off the plane, and then I was doing something and he was doing something else, and like the whole jump like nothing happened, like we were going like this, and he was doing exactly what he thought he was supposed to do, and I was doing exactly what thought I was supposed to do. And then we were just like this, like the whole jump, like I was like, what the fuck is happening the whole jump? I opened my camera, I was like, wow, that was the worst fucking jump of my life. I was like, even if I had like some shitty jump, man, this one was like, I don't know what's happening. So, and then we had the ground rules like, well, we don't talk when we land, like straight away. If something goes wrong, first we go back, we maybe chill a little bit, and then we talk about what's happening. Because,
Sure.
like just landing and be like, what the fuck have you done? And stuff like that. I was like, yeah, that's not the way. So now we have found this ground rules like no talking before, after landing,
That's
unless it's a
good.
good one, and then we can do it.
That's good. I mean, well, and it's
Yeah.
just it's a hit and miss, right? You have to, and another thing too is being able to read each other in the sky, and especially because you guys have only got 200 jumps together. It's not going to take long though before you guys have your own language and can anticipate what the other
Yeah,
person's doing.
exactly.
Because you're not just learning a routine or a move, you're learning each other at the same time.
Yeah, that's why also like we like spend a lot of jump like flying, just the compulsories and stuff like that, just for us to be able like to just learn how to fly together. And like for me, when I've started like freestyle in the sky, I was like, okay, it's gonna be exactly the same in the tunnel. I was able to fly my routine in an, I don't know, 14 feet wide tunnel. I don't think I'm moving much in the sky. You know what I mean? Was my mindset when I started. And I was like, okay, I can just do my life and he's going to be around doing his stuff. And then we just understood that when we were doing that, like we were ending the jump, I was in the country, he was in another. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it wouldn't happen like that. And we were just like, okay, now I'm really feeling that I'm all the time flying on him. We're all the time flying together. And maybe in between, I'm sending some tricks and stuff like that, but otherwise it's really some flying together. And this is something that obviously in 200 jumps, it's starting to happen, but it's really not something that can be learned in 10 jumps.
Sure. Well, that movement around the sky, it's very difficult to gauge from what you get in a tunnel. And as much as speed is the thing in the tunnel, because obviously speed is how you're staying off the net, it's so hard to see it happening in the sky. Speed
Yeah.
changes can be fucking crazy. And especially with the board when I was flying with that, the speed changes were just incredibly dramatic from one move to the other. And in the tunnel where she would practice on the board, she would be doing a trick thinking about her speed to stay up off the net. Whereas in the sky, she's not thinking about speed. She's just thinking about the move. I'm
Yeah,
going to do the move
exactly.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
She's not thinking maintain a set speed. It's up to me to change my speed to get the shot. But you don't know that when you're first starting to fly together, and all of a sudden it's holy fuck.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely. And also like all the point of references, like basically in the tunnel you have the walls, you have the lights, and like sometimes would be like just okay, turning until I see the blue lights, for example. Now I'm not having those glasses and lights, so sometimes I'd be like, okay, I need to see where he is, and like sometimes I'm like speeding super fast. And it's a good thing actually he has like a red suit, so sometimes I'm seeing like a red dot and I'm like, okay, he's there. I'm coming to you.
well, and it sounds like you're having a lot of fun doing it as well, though.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm super happy I've done it, because like when I've stopped competing in the tunnel, it was like I was super happy during the World Cup in 2022. I really felt like it was my best competition in a way. I was like, I was doing my routine, and this is a routine I really loved and really loved flying. And I was like, well, basically, that's almost the best thing I can do. And I didn't fuck it up throughout the whole competition. And my mindset was like super different than it used to be before. It was like really hard to compete because I was really focused on the scores and on not fucking things up. And from the two last competitions, it started with the French nationals where there were like some really pretty big flyers, and I was like, well, I don't even think I'm gonna be on the podium. And I was just being like, okay, I'm gonna fly, and I'm not gonna watch the score until the end of the competition. So I had no clue what was happening with the scores. I was like, there's no, I mean, it's not like dynamic flying, you know. In freestyle, you just have to do your best all the time. So there's not many like, you don't need to watch the scores.
Sure.
And for me, it was affecting me so much, whether they were good or bad. It was like, okay, if I had some good scores, I was like, okay, I really should keep that up. And if the scores were bad, I was like, oh my god, it's never gonna happen. So then I was like, you know what? And it's also what I said to my teammate. Now I was like, I'm not gonna watch the scores anymore because it doesn't have to affect my flying. My flying always has to be the best I can. And this is when I did my best competition. Like never, like I didn't hit the wall on my routines, and I did some pretty good competition. This when I won the French nationals. So I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, so it's how I wanted to be for the sky as well.
Sure. Now, when is this competition coming up?
So it's gonna be in Pamiers, which is in southeast of France, southwest of France, sorry. And it's gonna be the French nationals. So
And
hopefully, basically, they're like a super like strong team. Like they're like the vice world champions. So they had like they have thousands of jumps. So we obviously not aiming for the gold, but the goal was would be to have the first experience in a competition, and for next year to maybe go to the World Cup. So that's the
nice.
goal. Yeah. So yeah, the aim would be the World Cup in the Netherlands next year.
And the French Federation is incredible with supporting their teams, right?
I mean, they're amazing. Like, oh, this is something. It's like when you have it, you don't realize it, and it's when talking with other people from other countries. Yeah, the French Federation is amazing. They help so much, and especially for us this year. You know, they usually start helping when you start already some competition. And yeah, we've been lucky. There's another team who stopped competing this year. So they had a little bit of budget to give to us. So they were like, okay, we have a little bit of money, use it. You have to come to the French nationals. And if we can make it at least for the second place on the podium, then we're going to make it properly into the French national teams. And then we're going to have like the full support from the federation. So that's the goal. And then when we're gonna have that, we're gonna be able like to train more and have like more, yeah, a little bit more money, like to be able to
Sure.
jump. Yeah,
Man, that's fantastic.
yeah, they're amazing. But there's honestly there's not yeah. French are not always the best, but for that, honestly, the French Federation, they're doing pretty good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, I want you to tell everybody, first off, what's the date of the competition? And then how do people come and get coaching from you, train with you? How do they come out and make a skydive with you? How do they reach you?
Okay, so basically, competition is gonna be at the end of the month. I think it's from the 29th of August until the 1st of September. I think the federation is gonna post the scores online, and also I'm probably gonna put it on social, on Instagram and stuff. So now I'm located in Gap, which is in the southeast of France, in the Alps. The drop zone is amazing. We have like more or less 300 sunny days a year. And I'm saying that watching out of the window with the super gray sky. So, guys, I'm not lying. We have a good weather, but not today. So, yeah, I'm jumping there. I'm doing actually camera tandem and some coaching over there. And then for the tunnel coaching, basically, I'm trying to move a little bit around Europe. So I'm doing a lot in Finland, in
Yes.
Helsinki.
First,
Yeah,
first round is on me when you're here.
exactly. So actually, I'm gonna be there in November, and October I'm gonna be in Sweden, in Malmö.
Nice.
And yeah, basically in winter I'm trying to organize a camp per month, like one camp a month. I'm like always like trying to post it on the socials, on Instagram. And then when I have like my students, I always like tell them first, and if I have some free space, like welcoming new people. But yeah, I loved Finland. I literally fell in love with this country. Like I came to the Aeronautica first time last year in June, and I've been there like 5 times already, like in
Yep.
a year. So
Yeah, it's pretty
definitely coming
spectacular.
back. Yeah, yeah,
It's amazing. So what's your Instagram so people can look you up?
It's Laurie Laurie _LB.
LB.
Yeah.
Awesome. Laurie, amazing to catch up with you. It's been 3, maybe even 4 years since we had a chance
Let's
to
not
talk.
waste so much, and definitely anyway.
Yeah, but
I
I mean,
in November.
come November, it's definitely some wine and conversation, and I'll come out to the tunnel and watch the madness out there. But I also will want to catch up with you again, maybe then after the competition and see the direction that everything's going. But as always, amazing talking to you, and thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much, Dean. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.